we're going to do some fraction starters today and then get on with some more equations. Yippee! Right, so first of all, we've got a multiplication. So remember, when we're multiplying mixed numbers, we've got to change them into improper fractions first. So the way that we change to improper fractions, remember, is that times that, add that to go on the top. So 5 3s are 15, add 1 is 16, and on the bottom, the number stays the same. Then for the other one, 10 times 2 is 20, add 3 is 23. And then we can simplify anything on the top with anything on the bottom. We don't have an awful lot of choice for that. 23 being a prime number won't simplify with anything, but we can see the 16 and the 10 are both in the 2 times table. So we've got 8 there and 5 there. So this time we've ended up with a bit of a kind of dodgy question here in terms of the numbers. So we need, on the top, we're going to need 8 times 23 or 23 times 8. So 3 8s are 24 and 2 8s are 16, add 2 is 18. So we get 184 on the top. 5 5s are 25. So we need to have a think about whether that will simplify. And, well, the only times table you'll find 25 in is the 1, the 5 and the 25. And so looking at 184, 5 doesn't go into that, and neither does 25. So there's no simplifying to be done. But we could write this as a mixed number. If we think up how many 25s go into 184, well, there's 4 in 100, and then another 3 up to 75, so that makes 7. That takes us up to 175, and then we've got 9 extras to make it 184. So the answer is 7 and 9/25. Okay, next one, subtraction. So we're going to deal with the whole numbers separately to the fraction part of these mixed numbers. So we need a common denominator for 4 and 8. So that would be 8. 4 into 8, we've multiplied the 4 by 2, you can see there, to get 8. So we need to multiply the 1 by 2 as well. So that'll give us 2. Then to get the number on the top here, we've not done anything to the bottom here, so we don't do anything to the top either. So we've got 6 and 2 eighths, take away 3 and 3 eighths. So 6 take away 3 is 3. 2 eighths take away 3 eighths is minus 1 eighth. So 3 whole ones take away an eighth is 2 whole ones, and you've still got 7 eighths left. Okay, and then the last one is a divide. So again, just like multiplication, if we've got mixed numbers, we need to change them to improper fractions. So we're going to do 9 2s are 18, add 4 is 22. Then 2 3s are 6, add 1 is 7. And then remember, to divide by a fraction, you turn it upside down and you multiply it. Okay, so here we can see there's a little bit of simplifying we can do. We've got the 3 and the 9, they're both in the 3 times table. So all together on the top there, we've got 22 times 1, which is 22, and 3 7s are 21, which is fine. It won't simplify, we can leave it as it is, or we can change it back into a mixed number and make it 1 and 1 over 21. I'm not sure if you call them 21ths or not. Okay, so that was our little starters. Then where we're up to, so we've been solving equations with variables on both sides, but I thought we could do with an extra lesson just stuck in here where we've got some brackets before we go on to solving equations with fractions tomorrow. Okay, so it's not going to be a particularly long lesson today. It's only using what we already know but bringing it together a little bit. So, quick recap. This first one doesn't have variables on both sides. Remember, variables, unknowns and letters, it all means the same thing. Okay, so the variable in this equation is the x, and we don't have x's on both sides, but we do have a bracket that we need to multiply out. So we're going to do 4 times 2x is 8x. 4 times negative 3 is minus 12. And then we've still got this minus 5x. So that has to be equal to 10. And then we need to tidy up a little bit. So we've got 8x take away 5x on the left-hand side, so that's 3x. And we've still got minus 12, and that's going to be equal to 10. So we're going to now start our balancing. So adding 12 to both sides gives you 3x is 22. And then dividing by 3, you get x equals, right, 22 divided by 3. 3 doesn't go into 22. So we remember, just write it as a fraction, 22 over 3. Whilst we have a look at it and see if it'll simplify, and it won't. So we can leave it as it is, or we can change it into a mixed number if we like. So 3 into 22 goes 7 times, and you've got 1 left over, so it's 7 1/3. Okay, so x is either 22 over 3 or 7 1/3, same thing. Okay, but you mustn't leave a fraction in an answer that can be simplified. You must simplify it. Okay, so that was just a recap of what we do with equations with brackets. So now we're going to look at equations where we've got variables on both sides and brackets. So it's probably not a surprise to you that on the left-hand side we're going to multiply out the bracket, and on the right-hand side we're going to multiply out the bracket, and then we're going to have a look at it and see what to do next. Okay, so 3 times 2x is 6x, 3 times 1 is 3, and then on the right-hand side, 4 times 3x is 12x, and 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So remember, when you're solving equations, each time you write down a new equation, that's where you're going from. It doesn't matter how you got to this equation, this is the one that we need to solve now. So we can see we've got letters, we've got x's on both sides, so we need to fix that first. So bring baby to mummy. It's going to be the 6x that need to move. So we're going to see this 6x is positive, so we're going to take away 6x. Remember, you've got to do the opposite of what you've got. So when we remove 6x from the left-hand side of our equation, we've only got 3 left. On the right-hand side, if we take away 6x, 12x take away 6x is 6x, and then we've still got a minus 8. So our next step would be to add 8 to both sides. So 3 add 8 is 11, and the 8 disappears from the right-hand side, so all we've got is 6x. Then divide by 6. You should be getting really used to this process now. So we've got 11 over 6, because 6 doesn't go into 11. So if we just check, 11 over 6 doesn't simplify, so we can leave it as 11 over 6, or we can change it into a mixed number, so there's 1 whole 1 and 5/6 there. So either of those two answers will do. But you shouldn't leave it like this with the letter on the right-hand side. Your answer or your solution to the equation should be the letter equals, and then what number you've found it to equal. Okay, right, next one. So this one is set up exactly the same as the other one. We're going to multiply out the brackets and then solve the equation. So 5 times t is 5t, 5 times 7 is 35, and then we've got 4 times 2t is 8t, and 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. So looking at our equation, we need to bring baby to mummy. So we're looking at the t's. We want to fix the letters first, then the numbers. So the letters, we've got 5t and 8t, so it's the 5t that's going to go. So we've got 35 left on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, we've got 8t take away 5t, so it's 3t, take away 12. And then we're adding 12 to both sides. 35 add 12 is 47. And that's equal to 3t. And then we need to divide by 3. So that's going to give us 47 over 3, because 3 doesn't go into 47. So remember, we need to turn it round anyway, so that it's the letter first. 47 over 3 doesn't simplify, but there are 15 3's in 45, so this is 15 and 2 left over. if we wanted to write it as a mixed number, but either is fine unless you're told in the question a particular way that you need to do it. Okay? And just 2 more to do. So the first one, here you can see we've got this extra term, then the bracket, and an extra term and the bracket. But remember, these extra terms, they're separate to the bracket, so they don't get involved. When we're multiplying out the bracket, they stay away. Okay? So 2 times c is 2c, and 2 times 3 is 6. And then this 4 is not getting involved with that bracket. This is certainly not 7 times the bracket. Okay, it's 4 add 3 times the bracket. The 4 is not multiplying that bracket. So we've got 3c and minus 6. So because we've got 3 terms on each side now, let's tidy those up before we do anything else, because we can see we've got 2 letter terms on this side and 1 on that side, 1 number term on this side and 2 on that side. That's too fancy and complicated. We're not going to deal with that. So what we need to do is collect like terms. So on the left hand side, we've got 5c add 2c, so that's 7c, and add 6. And then on the right hand side, we've got 3c, and we've got a positive 4 and a minus 6, so that's minus 2. Okay, so now we need to get the letters on one side only. Bring baby to mummy. So it's the 3c that's going to move. And the 3c at the moment is positive. That's why we need to subtract it from both sides. So 7c take away 3c is 4c. And we've got a plus 6. And then we've got 3c take away 3c, so the c's disappear. And we've got a negative 2. Now be really careful. Once that 3c goes, you've still got a negative 2, and that negative is very important. Okay, so now we've got to subtract 6 from both sides. Gives you 4c is negative 2, take away 6, that's negative 8. Divide by 4. So c equals negative 8 divided by 4. So a negative divided by a positive, when the signs don't match, that's negative. And then 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, so c is negative 2. And then the very last one for today. Again, we've got extra terms here, so we have to be careful when we're multiplying out the bracket that we don't muddle up these extra terms with the bracket. Okay, so on the left-hand side, the 3 is separate, and then we've got 2 times 4 and 2 times negative v. And then on the right-hand side, we've got 3v, and then 2 times 2v, and 2 times 5. So because we've got more terms than we need, we're going to have to simplify by collecting like terms before we start our balancing. If you try and start balancing with this, you're going to get in a bit of a muddle. Okay, so we've got 3 add 8 is 11 on the left-hand side. Take away 2v. And on the right, we've got 3v add 4v, so that's 7v plus 10. Okay. So then dealing with the letters, we want them on one side only. So bring baby to mummy. The negative 2v is further down the number line than the 7v. So that's what has to move. But remember, you do the opposite of what you've got. So on the left-hand side, we've only got 11 now. And on the right-hand side, we've got 7v, add 2v, so that's 9v plus 10. Then we're going to take away 10 from both sides to give us 1 equals 9v, and then divide by 9. So 1 divided by 9, remember, is just 1 over 9. So v equals 1/9, and that's not a fraction. That will simplify. Okay, so that's where we're up to so far with our equations. So we've been able to mix what we've been doing. So tomorrow's lesson is going on to equations with fractions in them, and then we're just going to do a recap of equations on Friday, and that'll be us finished with equations. Okay, so have a go at the practice questions. Give me a shout if you're not sure about anything. See you later.